Opportunities for some pretty unique liturgy. And it's led me to a lot of thought about our own liturgy and how we go along from Sunday to Sunday. And we're a church community that takes the word of Jesus very, very seriously. And we try to enact and affect that word as much as possible. So I got to thinking, maybe we need to, in our liturgy, be a little innovative from time to time. Similarity is very good, the Sundays that we have, and we continue along, but what I'd like to hopefully do, and of course I'll be talking to our liturgy committee about this, is have what I, for lack of a better term right now, a liturgy Sunday, where we choose a liturgy that's a little bit different than we normally do. And this is an example of what that could be like. Taking a scripture reading and reading it as a story, really as a lot of it is meant to be. So that's a little bit of something to look forward to, I hope, for all of us. So let's go back to our story. What would have happened to the man if he'd gone back for him, his very precious cloak? Just in case. As he had a second thought and turned around for protection, that hope that gave him a little bit of cushion and comfort. What would have happened if he'd wrestled back through the crowd, stooped down, brushed it off, folded it, collected coins that had been scattered there? It would have been a big temptation for him, because we heard how important that cloak was to him, to his life, to his livelihood. Some would even say, the sensible thing to do would be to turn back, go back and get that cloak. But listen to what Mark says. Immediately, he followed him along the way. What an incredible act of faith to do something like that. We know in hindsight, as in looking back at it, that following Jesus is probably a good thing. But he doesn't know how this is all going to unfold. So he commits this great act of faith. And the tale of the cloak in the story, I think for us is really important, which is why I chose this for today. The old story has a lot to tell us. Clinging to things. There's a lot of symbolism in this story. Clinging to ideas, traditions, possessions, institutions for protection, for comfort, using them as a cushion for us. It has a lot to say to us today about our very human tendency to revert to the old, comfortable, known ways. Like the fellow says, the devil we know. And the new way seems to be kind of daunting from time to time. It calls us as a church community, as individuals too, to be willing to leave behind some of the things that we think we need to follow Christ. That strange itinerant preacher who will inevitably ask you, and has asked you, to stop on the way. This guy who would travel around, and he would stop, and he'd hold children in his arms. Right? Children just like little Maddie, whom he loved, and he'd hear them as he went along. And it wasn't a matter of, no, keep the children away, keep them quiet. He loved the children. He'd pick them up, he'd stop, and he'd tell his disciples, because they get it right, Jesus, we have to be in there. Be quiet. Kids don't wear watches. But they didn't wear those days anyways, but you know what I mean. Right? The strange itinerant preacher. And he would tell stories to people, as we know. Right? All of the great stories Jesus talks about. And as it says in the reading, that we create more questions than answers. Well, as a social scientist, I tell you, that's a great way of teaching, using parables like that. And notice the wording, to eat with no goods and riffraff. Oh, that's pretty good. My daughters use the phrase, no good mix. Same kind of thing, no goods and riffraff. I like that. And then to feed crowds. And to heal people that most wouldn't even speak to, just like the blind man in the story. Jesus would stop for those people. The outcasts in society. You know, you need your hands and your hearts free for a job like that. The leaving of the cloak is a really good story. And it also got me to thinking, when I was teaching, and colleagues in education will appreciate this. You know, in Ontario there are 2, or depending upon the scenario, 3 levels of education. But the kids in, let's call it the, used to be general level, applied level, those who aren't in the academic stream, they often would wear their jackets in the classroom. And that jacket was their cloak. And one of the things that I did, and I know some of my colleagues, experienced colleagues, did pretty much the same kind of thing, is we tell the kids to take off the jacket. And you'd think that would be just a matter of taking it off and hanging it. But why? It was fright. It was fear. Why do I have to? No, take the jacket off. It's nice and warm here. You don't need it. Take it off. When they removed the jacket, suddenly it's like a light turned on. They began to interact in the class. When I read this story, I thought of those hundreds of kids whose jackets we've asked over the years to remove, and how they became connected. Not for long periods of time. I'm not saying all of a sudden they went on to become geniuses. No. But at least they weren't throwing erasers at us. So that was a good thing. And I thought of our community. And how we, as a community, have made the choice to take off the cloak, to take off our jackets, and to come forward. And then this guy, the blind man, who goes when Jesus calls, actually even before that, when he says the words, Jesus, Son of David, have mercy on me. And they're saying, quiet. He doesn't stay quiet. He goes forward with that. And there's the real message for us. Is to go forward with our beliefs. And to lead by example. I don't want to praise Pauline too much of a go to her head, but when we are in the city, Ottawa, Toronto, and so on, and there are riffraff sitting there, she'll stop and give them something, but not like in the story, flip the coin and keep going. She stops and engages them, talks to them. Now that's real contrary to how I was brought up, and probably most of us. When our parents would say, don't talk to them. They've got those list off the whole pile of problems, diseases, and utterances. But she stops, and many people I know in this church community do that as well. Stop and talk to the person. How are you today? How's it going? People being nice to you, stuff like that. And you know, I've started doing the same thing because it goes back to the pastor standing with his hands in his pocket and his wife gave away money, right? So and one day I talked to one of them. I said, well, how are you doing out here? He said, oh, I'm doing very well. We bought some gloves. Okay, they were on sale, but we bought them anyways. We gave them to the guy, 2 guys. They were sleeping on the street. So they tried the gloves. Oh, wow, these are great. So they talked to us, and they offered a word of advice. They said, you know, sir and ma'am, when you're going around giving money, we really appreciate it. We do. The way you do it, but if you want good value for the money you're giving away, that's really neat. How to invest in giving your money away. He says, don't give it to the guys who've got burns on their hands, their thumbs, and index fingers. I said, well, why? He said, that's from smoking crack pipes. They're going to take the money and use it for crack. And so, well, you know what? That's what they choose to do. That's what they choose to do. And I repeat that story because they had in their way concern for us and for the money that we were giving. And I thought that's really a remarkable story. That they have concern for the people who stop and give them money. One of them had a dog, and we had a dog and talked. The guy he was just so ecstatic that somebody stopped and talked to the dog. You know what? Conversed in a way that we converse. The riffraff that Jesus taught. The no good mix that are amongst us. When I was in Washington, D.C., meeting John Deere and protesting as some of my left-wing friends would say, the great Satan. There was a fellow who ran the Dorothy Day House, and he and his wife owned a big old home in Washington, D.C. And it was a home that poor people came into to live. He said, how do you do that? Like, aren't you afraid or concerned? He said, oh yeah, we've been ripped off a lot of times, but he said, we buy second-hand stuff, so if somebody steals a cutlery, big deal. It means they might need a knife and a fork and those kinds of things. So what if they steal a coffee mug, none of them match? So he had a whole different outlook on it. So his cloak of things wasn't important. The Catholic worker has. So there are a lot of people like us out there. We're not alone in this. Who are reaching out and who are touching the people that need to be touched. I don't mean just physically, but I mean spiritually. And that's what Jesus asks us to do. And once you make the decision, it's beautiful, right? Immediately, we followed him along the way. And what a great way it is that we follow. And how blessed we are to have the opportunity, like the man in the story, to cast off our cloak of thoughtlessness, and put on our cloak of following Jesus. And it's a time of thinking. It's a cloak that makes us think. When we come into our liturgies like this that challenge us, those are the things Jesus wanted. We don't sit there. That's why I say we want to make sure our liturgy engages. We don't sit there on Sunday by Sunday and tune out. We tune in. And we get really bored, we watch Little Daddy. And that's when the pastor knows it's time to close.